Hi, my name's Steve. Welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time, thanks for checking it out. I appreciate the support. So when I was growing up, there were three guitar players that influenced me so much I had to pick up the guitar to learn. One of those guys, along with millions of other guitar players, was Eddie Van Halen. Now Eddie came out, he did things different than everyone else. He reinvented the guitar. He did things that no one had seen before, or he did things that people had done before, but did them so much different. It was just like watching someone doing something brand new every time he picked it up. And he never disappointed. Every album there was something new, something to check out, and I couldn't wait to buy that album to find out what he came up with this time. It was awesome. I've seen him in concert with Van Halen 7, 8 times, and I was fortunate enough to see him this last time in 2016 before he died. So I count myself lucky. When Eddie died, October 6, 2020, I was devastated. I felt like I lost a family member. You never think about your heroes dying, and here one of my greatest heroes had passed, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Now I was fortunate enough that Phil McKnight did a live stream, and I've got a link to his channel if you want to check him out. He's got great stuff. And he did a live stream, and there were several hundred of us that were on there, and we were all devastated. We were all feeling the same way, and we were comforting each other, and it was really nice. It was a great thing to do. And he had a suggestion that in tribute of Eddie, to help us mourn his loss, we should create our own Frankensteins. And I thought that was a great idea. Now some of the guys and girls that created them, they decided to do their own version of a Frankenstein. You know, they would take and modify another guitar and make it their own and everything. I wanted to create a Frankenstein as much like Eddie's as I could, and so that's what I did. So this is my Frankenstein. I call it affectionately Eddie, and I put a lot of labor and love into this, and it really did help me cope and mourn with his loss, and it was awesome. So I'll tell you about it. What Eddie did was he picked himself up a boogie body, and which was a factory second. It had a knot in the body, so he got it cheap, and he got himself a maple neck. Bought them both from Larry Charvel of Charvel Guitars, and then he tore his humbucker, PAF humbucker, out of his Gibson ES335, and he took the tremolo off of a 50 Strat. So now I wasn't going to do that, because if I had a 50 Strat I wouldn't tear it apart, and if I had a 50, 60 or 70s ES335 I wasn't tearing it apart either. So I picked myself up DiMarzio 36th anniversary PAF humbucker, and I hunted around and I found an antiqued Floyd Rose, and so that's what I put in here for that. The other thing that Eddie did was he had a dummy pickup in the single coil in the neck position, and he wired it in with a five switch. Both of these are dummy. They were dummy on the Frankenstein, they're dummy here. He did it because he didn't want other guitar players to figure out what he was doing, and so that's what I did here to copy it. So I picked up some Fender tuners, and then the volume pot, I use an EVH volume pot because it's got a nice smooth roll off. I really like the feeling. He designed it, and I thought it would be a good addition to the guitar. And then I also added EVH detuna at the end. So those are all the parts, the basic parts that I put together. Now that I had everything, I wanted to make it look as close to the original as possible. So what I did was I started hunting the internet for templates, but I wasn't finding anything that was very close, nothing that I thought looked right. So what I did was I went and found some pictures at the Smithsonian, and I also looked at the vhnd.com website. They had some nice pictures of it, and I looked at a couple other sites, and I was able to pull these pictures, and I used those so that I could freehand tape the stripes. The first step I needed to do was give it the Rolling Stone treatment. I painted it black, and once it was dry, I started applying the tape so that I could create the white stripes. Once I had the white painted, I took the stripes off, of course, and then I went and retaped for the final coat with the red. I went through and I painted it red, and once it was done, I began to relic the guitar. Now, relicking took forever, several hours, and I tried really hard to match the pictures. So I was looking at the pictures and I was trying to match as much as I could. And I'll tell you, that was a tedious, grueling experience. But it was also very therapeutic at the same time. Destroying something you just created was kind of fun. After that was done, then I went to work on the neck, and I tried to make the neck look like it had been used a ton. So what I did to get that used feel, like from sweat and everything, I used some graphite from a pencil. I shaved down a pencil down quite a bit and I put it on there. I didn't quite get to the level I wanted, but I think it gets the point across. And then the cigarette burns at the top on the headstock, I actually created those with my soldering iron. So I thought it turned out really good. I was pretty pleased with that. So once I got the relicking done, it was time to put it together. So I drilled the holes for the Floyd Rose, and I gave it a nice big crack. At this point, I had a decision to make. I could go ahead and finish the assembly knowing it's not going to be very stable, but I could use it as a display case, you know, type of guitar only. But that's not what I want. I'm not the type of guy, I don't have any guitars that just hang there just for looks. I like to play with them. So I decided I was going to try to repair it. So what I did was I routed out the bad spots. I got myself a small piece of maple. I couldn't find another piece of mahogany that would work. So I found myself a piece of maple. I cut it to size, I glued it in, and I put a couple extra screws in there just for good measure, because, you know, it's Frankenstein, and Frankenstein has screws, so this can't hurt, right? I mean, the real monster Frankenstein. I don't know if the guitar had screws, actually, but mine does. Anyway, so once I got that together, I assembled the guitar, and I got everything built. My repair worked, it held. I was able to install the Floyd Rose, everything's great. I get the whole guitar installed. I got myself some reflectors like Eddie had. I installed them as close to the same locations, even broke one with the adhesive sticking on the back. I did all that to try to match as much as possible. So one other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to block the tremolo. And with the repair that I did, if I used this brass block that I had floating around, it fit perfect. And so I used the brass block on the, say that 40 times fast, brass block. See, I can't even do it. Brass block, brass block, brass block. Yeah, okay, so anyway, I used the brass block on my tremolo, and I put it in there, blocked it up perfect, so it'll dive bomb, it won't go up, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. Had everything together. The last thing I needed to do was find a 1971 quarter, and I found that to be a tedious and ridiculous job. I couldn't find one. I used a 74 that I had. I put it on the guitar and it was there, and lo and behold, one of my friends, thanks Sue, found me a 71 quarter. Now it's on the guitar. So now I have everything complete. And the last thing I added was I put the eye hooks in, just like he did. And I've got a Eddie Van Halen, an EVH strap that I bought to complete the ensemble, so that everything goes together. So now it's complete, my Eddie Frankenstein.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
This guitar was a labor of love. I feel it was a great tribute to Eddie, at least to me. It was therapeutic, and to me it was just something I could do for a guy who gave so much and had no idea who I was, but he meant a lot to me. And so now this guitar means a lot to me just because I built it in his memory. I play the guitar all the time. I think it sounds great. It's a lot of fun to play. If you want to hear it, I'll put a link up above or down in the description to my cover of Little Dreamer by Van Halen. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and leave a comment. I'd appreciate it. If you'd like to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, I'm going to leave you with the immortal words of Eddie Van Halen. Words of wisdom. If you make a mistake, do it twice. That way they think you meant to do it. Thanks for checking it out. See you later.